Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead in collaboration with the Big Family Homestead and tips for beginning homesteaders. Today is tip number 2, and in my opinion tip number 2 would be heat. Regardless of what part of the country you live in, heat is going to always be a factor in the wintertime. And depending on the type of home that you decide to live in, whether it's a cabin, whether it's a mobile home, whether it's a yurt, or whether you just got a conventional home or whatever it is that you move into, you're going to have to take into consideration how you're going to heat that home. Now if you're on the grid, you got to decide, am I going to use electricity to heat the house with? If you're off the grid, am I going to be using wood to heat my house with? Or am I going to purchase propane to heat my house with, or natural gas to heat my house with? Or am I going to do a pellet stove to heat my house with? There are so many options out there for heating one's home. And when you move on to a homestead, that's one of the first things that you're going to take into consideration is how am I going to heat this place during the winter time, because so many people when they move on to a homestead don't have a lot of money to work with when they first move there. And in order to keep your budget where it needs to be at, you're going to have to determine what's going to be the easiest way to heat your home. You have to look at your land and see what your natural resources are, what kind of health you have, your age. A lot of these things play factors in when it comes into heating of a home. How many small children do you have? Things like this, because an adult can stand a lot cooler house than a small child can. And depending on what part of the country you live in, as to how rough the winter is going to be, and how rough the winter is will determine the amount of fuel you'll need or the amount of wood you'll need to cut and have in storage. And so this would be my tip for number 2 for a beginning homesteader. Thank you from Deep South Homestead.